Today we are talking about courage. um, Attached to this video is a piece of the Yoga Sutra that speaks about what is required to attain a heightened state of awareness. And among the things that are required is courage. And what is required for courage? Hi, Veronica. Good morning. Well, the first thing that's required for courage is fear. As a Catholic nun, Sister Rose, once told me, faith and doubt walk together. Similarly, fear is required for courage. Uh, Good morning, Miss Eva. Um, so, in our practice today, we're going to play with and um, and summon courage as we move through our practice. Um, and so, when we think about uh, courage and how to um, nurture it within ourselves and in our practice, uh, first we must acknowledge and accept what is there when fear is there. And fear is a tricky trickster, like it can pop up in all kinds of forms where we many times don't even realize that's what's happening. Um, and so taking a moment to be honest with ourselves and acknowledge what's going on right now and ask ourselves, what am I afraid of, during difficult times or when we find ourselves with a sense of tension in a relationship or in a situation, and um, and sitting with that, because things that we do out of fear and the way that we do them aren't always, often, are not the best way to do it, and best course of action. So first, acknowledging when fear is there and accepting it, that it is there, and so that you can from there begin to move with honesty in what you're doing. So um, in that, um, acknowledging when fear is there and affirming what is um, strong and valuable within ourselves. Hi, Charles. Jada, hi, Jada. Good to see you. Um, and so affirming what is within ourselves and letting go of the small or limited sense of ourselves and connecting with that which is greater. And, this is a time to, and it's always a time, to think about who we really are. And, when we were born, even before we came out of our mother's wombs, some might say, we were already perfect and complete and whole. And that has been the case from the beginning of our creation. And it's once we, come and spring into this world and we start picking up messages from here and there, from parents and from people and from TV and from whatever, is and then from our habits, we begin to develop a story about ourselves of who we are. And and we start to connect with that story. But what we're doing in our practice in yoga, and as we move towards a higher sense of self, is remembering that we are already whole and already perfect. And we were that before we started developing these stories about ourselves. And so remembering that constant underneath all of those stories is who we really are. And affirming that higher sense of self. I am. I am full of goodness. I am love. I am powerful. And remembering those things at times when we uh, are afraid and when uh, we are faced with being brave or the call to be brave and courageous. And so the sense of self consciousness really comes from a limited sense of self and really a lack of self confidence in that we're connecting with the limited sense of self. Our true self is much greater, and being confident in that and remembering that. And so, um, what might what we see, what motivates folks to be courageous is also an interesting thing. If you think about soldiers in war, and you think about, hi, Harry, good to see you. Soldiers and people who you hear about doing amazing feats. I'm just going to connect my charger. You learn, you see that oftentimes they're able to do those things because they're doing it for someone else. Like oftentimes you hear soldiers saying they were fighting, they were there for their brothers, for the guys out there, what they did, or moms doing courageous things for their children. And an interesting thing that I learned from the Dalai Lama, hey Delicia, in like public speaking. And after so I read this, someone asked the Dalai Lama, like, don't you ever get uh, nervous, like you're speaking to hundreds and thousands of people, like up on stage? Do you ever get afraid or nervous, like stage fright? And he said yes. And the way that he overcomes that is to think about the people that are in the audience and what he is there for, to contribute to their happiness and well-being, and that's why he is there, and it's not about him. And that's what I often remind myself of when I'm teaching these yoga classes or when I'm speaking in front of a group, because I get terrible performance anxiety and stage fright and that sort of thing. And that's what helps me to overcome it, is reminding myself that this is not about me. It's about what I can do in service of others and contribute to the well-being of others. And that is a powerful thing that contributes to courage. So that is a motivation for courage. So think about that when you're faced with something and you need to be brave. Think about how, whatever the task is that you are faced with doing, how does that connect with others in the world around you beyond just the limited sense of self and ego? You know, how does this serve a greater purpose? And bring the focus towards that. And that greater purpose may be to to move into my best self and higher self. Because once we do that, that ripples out, and it really is good for the rest of the world and all of us. So even that. And so with all of that said, uh, let's get started with our practice today. Moving into a comfortable seat, settling in, settling down, coming into this space. Noticing the heartbeat, the energy in the body, and allowing that energy to settle. Notice the body as it settles into the earth. You might notice sounds around us, sensations against the skin, sensations within the body, the light as it enters our eyes, connecting with the breath, noticing where the breath is felt most prominently. Is it at the tip of the nose or back of the throat, the chest or belly, as it rises and falls? With loving awareness, and remembering with the breath, I am. Inviting that mantra with the inhale and the exhale. Inhale I, and exhale am. And with that awareness and steadiness with the breath, let's meet